How you feel about head coaches that don't call plays?
We pod in the day. I personally,
Like,
let me say this.
You babysitting, nigga?
You good?
Let me say this. And we gonna get to Zay. We gonna get to Zay soon too.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Me personally, I think the best head coaches shouldn't call plays, but I think you should be capable of calling plays.
Huh?
Let me explain my point. I think as a head coach, this is me. Like, if I'm becoming a head coach or how I see it, like, I just think as a head coach, I just kind of like it when because you really the CEO. You know what I'm saying? You overseeing shit. You really more as a head coach, you really a culture setter, bro.
Okay.
Like, you're a leader. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, you're going to have a defensive background or offensive background. And that's the side that you're going to spend your time with. But you got to be able to put out fires in all three phases of the game. You get what I'm saying? Okay. Like, I think, to me, and then obviously people don't understand, like, game management, clock management, and just situational football is a skill and a mentality that you got to have going at all times. And sometimes when you play calling, like, it's hard to be great at both. Some can do it. I mean, those are the greats, but it's just like sometimes it's situationally certain things may slip unless, you know, you got a good situational guy or whatever, because there's people who have, like, we got people just on staff just for situational stuff, but at the end of the day, the head coach got to make the call. But me personally, I think I like when a head coach is not a play caller. Now, that being said, you have to be able to call plays, because the problem is when you're not a play caller, you're going to consistently lose your play caller. So, for example, like Sirianni, I think he split duties with Frank when he was here, when he was offensive coordinator. He split duties. When he went to the Eagles early on, he was a play caller. Then he ended up passing that off to Shane. It's crazy how coaching tree works.
For sure.
And then, the whole, debacle that they had this year, however that shook out. But Sirianni has called plays before.
Okay.
And you have to do that because once you pass that off to your next guy, Shane, guess what? If that motherfucker's successful, he's going to become a head coach.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, like, that becomes a launching pad. And I think that's what comes down to it. Like, a lot of these great teams, how they sometimes the success don't maintain. Sometimes the dynasties are short-lived because, you price out a lot of these players. Yeah, guys get hurt or get older, but people don't underestimate, bro. You lost your whole staff. You know, that D-line coach that you had was great. He a D coordinator over there in Buffalo somewhere now. Or, you know what I mean? The receiver coach that you had that was really getting the young boys right on their numbers and their details. Guess what? He an offensive coordinator somewhere now. Or, you know what I mean? The offensive coordinator that you had, he's a head coach now. And he took 2 or 3, you got like shit like that be happening, and that's what makes it so hard to maintain. That's why I feel like you got to be able to call plays, but I do think it's power in just being able to handle a situation.
In that point, though, I feel like, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like which great explanation of it, but I feel like you're simplifying consistency in terms of play calling. Because you have to, at a point, you have to understand rhythm of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, it's situational. You
know what I'm saying? Yeah, like you gotta be able to feel that.
I noticed that when Steichen got here.
What?
How good
he has a feel for
situations.
Yeah,
Steichen is a situational.
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
he completes situations. Like, he already planning on being in a certain situation in the game.
Right, but Shane's a play caller.
Yeah, he is, but I'm saying, you were saying
you're simple. What I mean by that is like you're simplifying the consistency of if a coach is not a play caller, but I still want him to be able to have that ability. Bro, it's a guy that's been upstairs for 10 weeks.
Oh, just telling him
and
what he's
but he's consistently knowing what the tendency is. He ain't just really looking at, it's the second quarter, third quarter, 2-minute drive. It's 2nd and 7. We need a first down.
Nah, bro, the league's so crazy, bro. You got a guy that tells you the percentage of how many times somebody has. Yeah, the analytics. You got someone telling you the percentage of how many times teams in the NFL in the last 2 to 3 years have converted this situation that you in. So it'll say, in this situation, they ran the ball and the percentage was 75 completion. In this situation, they passed the ball and it was only 40% completion. And then now the coach has to go to his play sheet and be like, all right, do I take the 75 or the 40%, or do I just go off my natural gut? You feel what I'm saying?
And then to that point, and because I agree that you need to be able to do that. But Z, in that, I'm hearing when you say that a coach needs to be able to have that ability, that more so he needs to be able to understand what's happening with the entire team, not be able to make a conscious decision about a probability. Those are two different. I feel like those are two different things.
I understand what you're saying, but I think the detail that you're missing is regardless whether you like, let's use Shanahan for example. Even though he calls the plays on offense, he has input on the play calls on the defensive side. Like if you're the head coach, you got input in everything. Or special teams. Nah, kick that out of bounds. We ain't doing that. You know how many times we'd have been Bubba. Man, Frank wanted, or he like, man, yeah, look, Frank letting us keep it in. Look, y'all gotta make me right. Don't mess this up. Look, Frank betting on us. Come on, let's go. We gotta go get. That's why I fuck with Bubba though. But yeah, so like it'd be much different times, or like you feel me? Like it's times where, like you said, situational. Like the head coach is important to know situational. Situationally, a lot of times, me dealing with Gus, and he like, hey, look, we up a big league. Coach doesn't want us playing more tighter coverage. He wants us to play us a little further back. That's why I'm calling, cover 4 or whatever the fuck we end up playing or whatever the situation may be.
All right.
Because the head coach dictated in this situation, this is what I want y'all to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like as a head coach, you got influence on everything. Now, all I'm saying is at a certain point, I think, as your staff grows and as that obviously all progresses, because at the same time, it's like, all right, so think about it like this, like, let's use Shane and Nick Sirianni. Sirianni was a play caller. He came in. He obviously had some weapons. He had Jalen and stuff like that too. And Sirianni got that job by being a good enough play caller. You know what I'm saying? I think him and Frank used to split it.
Yeah.
So I think him and Shane at first had a similar situation because Frank had that situation with Doug Peterson where they used to, split the play calls. They, Frank could call one half, Doug Peterson would call the other half, or. I think, and Doug Peterson, all these motherfuckers come from Andy Reid coaching tree. I need you to really understand that.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy Reid really one of the GOATs. But at a certain point, if you got a young star on your staff like Shane Steichen or a couple of these other guys that came up, like Brian Callahan, head coach of the Titans now, these guys that kind of came up, bro, you got to low-key step out the way, bro, and let that young boy cook. Yeah. Because guess what? Like, if he got it and he got the, don't be prideful about that. And you got it. That's just anything. You step out the way, you let him go. Yeah. And then look, it's either you going to find another play caller or guess what? You're going to have to retake over the play calling duties until you find somebody that you feel comfortable enough to put in that situation.
Bro, it's so many caveats to winning a Super Bowl, bro.
Bro, it's so hard, bro.
Because it's like, all right, now you got coaches that can leave and go be better. You losing your young star. But at the same time, you got players that leave and go on to better opportunities and injuries and all this type stuff. So, like, when you got it, bro, you got to make that shit. Like, when you got the whole package, dog, you got to go make it happen because you might not never get this again.
Understood.
For the next 10 years, like, you might retire, like, as a player, like, you feel what I'm saying? Yeah. You might not be on the squad next year. You might find better money, better this and that and that. The dog you playing next to, the safety you trust so well, he might find different, all that.
Might get hurt.
Like, when you got somebody, like, bro, we went through so much of that, bro.
Yeah.
Or tell them, Speed, you might have a team, y'all might get hot too early and cool off. Y'all might be slumping at the wrong time. Yeah. Somebody might get hurt the wrong time. Like,
and it ain't even just the players. It could be like the young dude, the young officer coordinator's assistant or something that helped him be who he was, had a family issue.
Yeah. Now he stepped away.
Yeah, now we 2 weeks and it's affecting us like for 2 weeks. Like it's that small, bro. It's like a drop of oil, bro. Like it's that small, like something that can like shift the season